Greetings, everyone. I'm Sajdah Wendy Muhammad, and you are tuned into the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks, where we talk about life, love, and business. These are all the things that don't fit into our Mind of an Entrepreneur program, but they fit here on the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks. So, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Lamont. Assalamu alaikum, Nubia LaFlo. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So everyone, come on in the room. Y'all know we got a quick 4-minute motivation. I got to keep y'all up, keep your energy high. We're grateful for everyone who woke up this morning. And not only did you wake up, but you decided that it would be beneficial for you to come on here and talk to me this morning. So I am grateful, grateful, grateful. I was going to be by the fireplace and stuff this morning, and I just got into, Assalamu alaikum, Sister Ida, Sister Aletha. I got into a deep meditation and lost track of time. One thing I want to do, good morning, Mom. One thing I want to do before we do our 4-minute motivation, one of our Sajdah Circle of Winners, and Brother Lamont, I hope you don't mind me saying this, has been not feeling himself. And so I want everybody to take a moment to give Brother Lamont some energy, some healing energy, some love. Musharraf, Brother Musharraf, assalamu alaikum. Give Brother Lamont some love, everybody. Send him some positive energy. Send him some healing energy. And we pray for your healthy recovery, Brother Lamont. We pray that Allah restores your health and you are not only back to yourself soon, but that you are thriving. And so thank you for, despite not feeling yourself, coming on here to be with us today. So really appreciate that. So we're going to start with we got a 4-minute motivational video. And I like to play these because sometimes it's just good first thing in the morning to get yourself going with some motivation. One of the things that I do is I get up, I go into prayer, I go into meditation, and then I spend that time either studying or, listening to something motivational to continue to calibrate and prepare myself for the day. And I try to break that up a little bit and do different things. This morning I stayed in a meditative state a little bit longer, but we'll see what that means, right? Okay, so we're going to listen to our 4-minute motivation while everybody's
When you're going to get your goal, don't think that all you have to do is think positive and everything's going to work out hokey dokey for you. You will experience the storms of life. See, most people, ladies and gentlemen, are stoppable. Most people, all you have to do is tell them no. All you have to do is make it inconvenient for them. All you have to do is make it difficult for them.
Consulting, Brother Kevin, good morning.
That goes with it. That goes with the territory.
Grand rising to everyone.
When you want to grow, when you want to achieve, when you want to experience more, all hell will break loose. Everything that can happen will happen. See, it's one thing to believe when you got money in your pocket. It's one thing to believe when your marriage is working out and you got your health. It's easy to believe then. Oh, but when you get that diagnosis, say you ain't gonna be here long. When you lose your job, when someone you thought you'd be with for the rest of your life say, no, we can't do this no more. That's when you have to stand. There's something about you. There's a power in you that regardless of what happens to you, you can stand up inside of yourself. You've got to get to the point in your life where you say, I have had it. I'm not going to live like this anymore. No, there's got to be more for me. You got to draw the line. Don't go through life feeling like you're powerless. Victims are people that are powerless. You're not powerless. You are powerful. You direct the power in your life. Whatever your life is right now, it is a duplication of your consciousness. It's a result of how you have decided to use your power. That's not who you are. That's just a perverted use of your power that you aren't satisfied with. And you've got the power to change that. But you don't know what has happened to me. It really doesn't matter what has happened to you. So the only thing that really matters is what are you going to do about it? I can become upset, nervous, tense about it, weak about it, or I can say, it's okay. You can allow it to destroy you, or you can allow it to build you up. Let me tell you something. You deserve a better life. There is more to your life than you've been living. You deserve it. Any number of things can happen to interrupt your flow. It's okay. Don't take it personal. Just acknowledge what's going on. It's called life. And keep on working on your dream. Courageously hold on to your dream and not lose enthusiasm. You got to be out of your mind to believe in spite of these numbers you can still make it. In spite of the pain you're feeling, you can still come back again. You got to be out of your mind. That's right. I believe it. It doesn't matter how many times I fail. I'm going to courageously pursue it. I don't care what people say. I don't care what they think. This is something that I want that gives my life meaning and value. You got to learn how not to give up or how not to give in. And you got to understand that greatness is within you. And you got to pull it out. You got to cry. You got to. Whatever you do, you cannot give up. You cannot give in. The enemy's after your mind. Out to worry you to death. Out to stress you to death. Out to break you down. Out to make you quit. Out to make you think that you can't get up. Out to make you give up on your dream. To walk through this in your mind. It's not in your savings account. It's not on your job. The fight that you got to fight is in your mind. And if you whip it in your head, you can whip it on your job. But you got to try it out of your head. Say, I'm going to leave. I'm coming out. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to lose along the way. But I still believe that I'm coming out. I'm grown out, busted and disgusted. But I still believe that I'm coming out.
You are powerful beyond measure. And I have worked very diligently to begin to establish what I call circles of influence for a lot of us. Because a lot of us may not come from backgrounds or family where we had a lot of motivation. Some of us are blessed to come from backgrounds with families that have given us a lot of motivation and support. But as you move through life and you move through those next levels, it's very important that you have a circle of influence around you that supports you in whatever endeavor that you're looking to go through. And it's important that you touch base with those people on a regular basis. Okay? Because I want to talk about something today, and we've been talking about this all week in different formats. And one is our identity and understanding the power of identity. One of the challenges that often happens to us, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Jamil. One of the challenges that often happens to us is that as we're moving through life, as we change, as we elevate, as we become more of ourselves, who we become challenges the identity of other people in our lives. That happens a lot of times in relationships. You know, you may be dating someone or married to someone who has a certain view of themselves. And then you come along and you challenge that identity. And then you can't figure out what happened. You're like, man, we checked all the boxes. We was just so cool. And then all of a sudden, as they got to know you, they lost it. Sometimes it's because your accomplishments and who you are challenged who they are. So let's say you meet somebody and he's or she's a best-selling author, okay? And he or she has won all kind of awards for being a great author. Or let's say they're a Grammy award-winning singer or somebody who just is the best singer ever. And then you come along and you can sing a little bit. And you come along and you can write a little bit. And then you think, wow, we're so compatible. We do the same things. We can share resources. And it starts off great. And then all of a sudden you start to see what you think is a little competition. You're like, they can't be competing against me. They can't have a problem with me. Well, what has started to happen in many cases is that who they've discovered that you are challenges who they thought they were, because they thought they was the best singer on the block, or they thought they were the only award-winning author, or they thought they had the greatest whatever. And then here you come. You're either striving to have it, or you come and you're better. And so they can't deal with you anymore. So it's better to walk away from you than it is to stay and elevate their own identity. Why is that important? Because when you have a limited identity of yourself, it causes you to have a limited way in which you engage with people. And it causes you to stay in fight or flight or in protective mode because you're always challenged by who someone else is. Most people with limited identities become tyrants, they become terrorists, they become predators. So that's why when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us, accept your own and be yourself. He didn't say, accept your own and be yourself on the block. See, if you're just trying to protect this block, then now you start trying to kill everybody who comes on the block. You start trying to, mess up other people who come on the block. But if you can find a way where you love yourself and expand your identity, you're never threatened by anyone's presence at all. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the masterful way in which the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us our identity and why. Because people think it's just black power talk. That's how it was translated over into pop culture, right? It's what they do with our stuff. And I don't know how many of you saw the Mind of an Entrepreneur show on Wednesday. I did a double show with the audience, the Mind of an Entrepreneur audience, and then other people who were at a forum that I had attended. And they asked me to speak. And we talked about how our culture and who we are gets sucked up into pop culture. And when it gets sucked up and translated and moved over into pop culture, it ignites an entire ecosystem. And then it gets watered down into cliches. If you ever work in a place, something that happens, the corporate vernacular becomes acronyms. Like, okay, where's the HPRS? You'd be wanting to say, what in the world is the HPRS? So when you move into a company, you got to learn the language, the vernacular, the acronyms. Say something in the chat if you know that experience. It feels like they speak in a foreign language. It's because what they're doing is they're taking the concept, paring it down, and they're packaging it, and they're limiting it so that they can have a territory that is their domain that they can rule over. So you come into that territory, you got to learn the language, you got to learn everything that they do, and then now you give up your own culture, you give up your own way of thinking, and then now you are subordinate in that domain. So yeah, you have to memorize the meanings. I remember I was working somewhere and they kept saying that they were trying to collect all the PFSs. And I was like, what is that? And they said, oh, it's the personal financial statements. But it's something that we do because we've learned it from Yaqub's mind, where we graph something out, we pare it down, we give it a language or an acronym or a name, and then we force everybody to when they come into that territory to either comply with the language or the behavior, or they have to get out. It's just Yaqub's mind over and over and over again in different ways. But what we learned from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, hey Misty, natural skincare chick, and Sister Tadara, assalamu alaikum. What we learned is he said, accept your own and be yourself. Somebody type that in the chat. Accept your own and be yourself. And a lot of us who've been studying this work even for a long time don't know what that means. And we don't understand why he said that. We think it was only in the context of America, the white man, but it's really a deeper metaphysical concept if we really understand. Accept your own and be yourself. What does it mean when you accept something? What is to accept something? Accept means that you give consent to receive it, right? Consent to receive it, or permission to receive it. It means to believe or come to recognize as valid or correct. So why is he saying to us, accept your own? That's because you've been given an identity and you're chasing an identity, a limited identity. And so what he's doing is he's reversing that grafting process. And the grafting process is so powerful that not only are we going into situations where we're being sifted out, but we're begging to get into those situations. And we're altering our person, who we are, our DNA. We're altering things about ourselves so that we can be accepted. But he said, no, accept your own and be yourself. Accept who you are. Stop trying to force yourself to be grafted into another organization, another race, another society. Accept who you are. Accept everything about yourself. And then he didn't just say to us, I just think it's really powerful if you think about this logically. He told us accept our own and be ourselves. Then to help us, because he knew we'd struggle, he told us how many of us there are. He told us who we are. He said the original man is the Asiatic black man. And many of us was like, huh? The maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth. And we said, what? What is a maker? What is an owner? See, he was tying us to the family of God. And he's saying to you, that thing that you're trying to fit into, the way you're altering your body and altering your mind, what's causing you to abandon your culture is not necessary. We are the family of God. Then he told us how many of us there are. 17 million with the 2 million Indians. Makes it 19 million. All over the planet Earth. 4,400,000,000. So he told us who we are. First he said, accept who you are. Here's who you are. Here's how many of you there are. So you don't feel like this little block or this little company or this little thing that you're trying to be a part of is all that you got to look forward to. See, because your subconscious mind knows better than that. Your subconscious mind knows, I'm bigger than this block. I'm bigger than this company. How many of you have worked at companies and said, I'm bigger than this? I'm more than this. I don't like being treated. I hated being treated like I was the best in that company because I'm better than this whole company. So he told us that. Accept who you are. Here's who you are. Here's how many of you are. It is. And here's how much space you all occupy. And sometimes we lose sight of that because we memorize it, we say it, but we don't really know what that means. See, what he was doing was he was turning us off or turning us away from the predatory mindset that is a limited mindset. If you know you just got a short amount of time to be on the planet Earth, if you know you just got a short amount of territory that you can rule, if you know that your identity is limited and the fact that these other people, these whole 4,400,000,000 people in this country, I'll go into that other part. I was going to say something else, but I'm going to wait. If we know that whole 4,400,000,000 is about to come up, they're about to change. If you know you're threatened by that and you only got a short period of time and you got a limited amount of territory, you going to act a fool. You become a tyrant. If somebody tells you as a black man, you only going to live till you 25 years old and this 3-block radius is all you got. Psychologically, what happens is that you start to function like you're short-lived. People like to say that if I only had a short amount of time, I might do this or that. But what if you had a short amount of time to live and you couldn't bless the people you wanted to bless? You couldn't live the way you wanted to live. You know, like that Queen Latifah movie, I forget what it was called, where she was given a short amount of time to live and she wanted to bless so many people and help all these people. But what if you can't do that? What if somebody just said to you, you just got a short amount of time to live? See, that's the way this world is. It's finite. It's predetermined. It's defined. And so what it does is it creates little micro subsets of itself in you and I, in our corporations. This whole concept we talk about with conscious entrepreneurship, where we reach beyond our own company profit lines, that's not common. It's all about this finite piece. And so he didn't give us a finite nation. He didn't tell us as a finite people. He didn't do that. He said we are open. We are connected to God himself. See, and you got to understand what that does to your brain if you truly can get it and truly understand it. What it does to your brain if somebody says to you, you're not connected to this job. You're not who they said you are on television. You're not who your company says you are. You are who God says you are. And you are a reflection of God. What does that do to yourself? See, sometimes we get too advanced before we understand the basics. Sometimes we get too far out there and just saying, accept your own. We get, and we got to be honest with ourselves. We're not doing it because we're not manifesting at that level. See, behavior and activity gets matched through universal law by physical things. So we're still working. We ain't doing it. Some of us are too advanced. So let's break it all the way down. Who are you? What are some of the traits about yourself that you know you need to accept? Even if it's stuff you don't like. You got to accept it so you can create a strategy so you can fight through it and make a change. See, we love to quote things, and that's good. But one of the things I do in my life is I say, all right, you know, you have this knowledge. How do you make this knowledge and who you are line up? What's the evidence of that? See, the physical stuff is the evidence of your alignment. the house, the car. So the interesting thing is that what this world does, so interesting. It takes and makes a microcosm of how God works. So here's an example. If you work at a certain company, you behave yourself a certain way, you become who they tell you to become, and then you get a raise. And then when you get that raise, you go get a better house, you change your zip code, you get a better car. All they're doing is shifting your mind so that you see them as God and not God as God. See, if we are in God's world, we conduct ourselves the way he wants us to conduct ourselves. We think the way he wants us to think. Then we get the raise. We get the better house, the better car. Those are small pieces of evidence of our alignment. We get all those things. But a lot of us cannot do it unless we're working somewhere or working in a company or a part of a culture where they've been able to supersede who God really is. And the only time we call on God is when we get in trouble. Man, I pray to God they don't fire me. I pray to God. See, but we got to work on expanding our mind so that we can replace that God downtown with the true and living God. And it first starts with accepting ourselves. Who do we need to be? Who do you need to be in order to have what you want to have, to live the way you want to live, to love the way you want to love, to literally manifest what you want? And the manifestation of the physical stuff is small. Because when you start aligning yourself, you start healing people through your presence. You start loving people through your presence. You start being that producer, that maker, and then you can own. But how do you get there? We have to first accept who we are. So we have to unravel our inordinate views of ourselves, because this is another thing that this world does. It causes us to create an identity. We create that identity. Once we create that identity, then our ego ushers in and says, we're going to do anything we can to protect that identity. We're going to fight. We want to be special. And we're going to fight. We're going to do whatever we can to protect that identity. So anybody we see, I don't care if it's somebody we see singing on television. I don't care if it's somebody advertising the Sajdah Saturday morning coffee talk. I don't care what it is. If it threatens who we think we are, bam, there go the jealousy. There go the envy. And now we've pinched ourselves off from that flow of goodness, that flow of abundance, that flow of love that will help us accept who we truly are. So the main thing we got to work on, identify who you are. Figure out who you are. Study yourself. And stop. And then I've had a lot of clients say, yeah, but how do I do that? I don't even know how to get there. And I say, okay, let's start here. What is something about you? What's a trait about you that is huge? Mine was sensitivity. Just being extremely sensitive. I've always been like that all my life. How do I take that sensitivity? See, I may be looking at it negatively because in the world, you got to be something different. You might not be able to be that sensitive person. When you go downtown in the corporate world, you may have to change. So I had to say, how do I take that trait? How do I take that trait and see it as an attribute, as opposed to pushing it away and rejecting myself. See, remember when we talked about in the Money Psychology Masterclass, money or manifestation hates hypocrites. And see, you can't say you love yourself on one side and then reject something about yourself on another. So I was rejecting my sensitivity. So let's step back and go, what is it about me? What is it about? What's this one thing that I just can't stand about myself? And how do I translate that? How do I transform that? How do I see it differently so that I can accept myself? How do I see it differently? Well, I said, okay. And y'all have heard this story before. I'm sensitive. But that means that a lot of times I can go into a meeting or in the boardroom and I can see things that other people can't see. I can hear things that maybe other people can't hear. I can catch little granular levels of detail that other people won't even catch. I can literally stand in front of something and figure out the measurement of it because I'm so sensitive to the angles and the arches. How do I turn that into a positive? Well, I started to incorporate that into who I am as a business person. So I'm not going to throw away myself as a sensitive person. See, because if I throw away a major trait of myself, now I'm rejecting myself. I'm living in a state of hypocrisy. I'm living in a state of loving part of myself, or at least saying I do, but not respecting another part of myself. Now I'm stressed. So there's stress. Stress comes from what? Resistance. So you wonder why your cortisol levels are up. Why are your hormone levels out of control? Causing you to produce too much insulin and your liver to be out of whack. It's because you're resisting and rejecting something that is a part of you. We're rejecting it because somebody told us that don't fit in the box. Somebody told us that there's a God besides Allah. And in order to worship that God, which might be the corporation, which might be whatever the system is that you're a part of, in order to worship that God, you can't be all like this. Some of you all are really articulate, but you don't never talk. Think about that. Some of you are really articulate, but you never talk. Do you know how long it took me before I would literally talk on the radio or a podcast by myself? I remember my mom coming to a speech that I gave. Well, this happened twice. I was in the Miss Black Iowa State pageant and I spoke. And I remember people going, "Oh, I didn't know you spoke so well. I didn't know you were so articulate." That didn't help me. I still didn't speak. And then I remember being I was an officer with the National Association of Black Accountants, NABA. And I think I was the vice president or something. And I spoke at an event. And my mother started talking to me about how well I spoke and how articulate I was. But I never got into that. And it took me a long time before I would speak. It wasn't then after that, then I started speaking, and this is interesting how Allah brought it out. When I first joined the nation, and Brother Yusuf and Sister Virginia, may Allah forever bless them, they were training me because I was told that they wanted me to move to Chicago. I was in Indianapolis. And they were training me, and in the smaller group, I would talk really well. I was good when I would come over to their house and we'd be going over old Muhammad Speaks, and and then listening to the minister's tapes and having study group, but then I wouldn't talk otherwise. And so Sister Virginia was like, well, you about to be the orientation teacher. I was like, what? But the thing of it is that I had no inhibition about talking to people about those three men that I had been in love with since I was a child, just didn't have a name for them. So it helped me to start to develop teaching on a one-on-one basis and talking to people and being able to love them to the point where I can tune in with what they needed and how I could help them, because my desire to help them was so big. And then I got really good at it by the grace and mercy of Allah. And then when I moved to Chicago, and I started doing the same thing, we started to have record numbers of sisters coming into the class. And we had so many sisters, we had 2 classes, because we couldn't fit them all in one room. And I attribute that to being myself, being able to be myself, and allowing Allah to flow. And then from that, starting my own business, becoming a consultant, doing crisis management. And so I was able to take that skill and lay that over into crisis management. So if people got in trouble or they were going through something, hey, here's how you deal with it. This is what we need to do. You have an emotional breakdown, blah, 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 blah. Let's talk about how to deal with it. And so that kind of morphed over into coaching and consulting and really studying to catch up with my gift. So much like, I don't know if you all saw the show I did with Sister Tadara, she was saying that she knew she had a gift. She found out she had a gift, but she had to catch up. She had to go to school to catch up with her gift. And in my case, I had to catch up with my desire to help people with business and behaviors and coaching. I had to catch up. So I had to study emotional intelligence, money psychology. I had to work with people. I had to keep going into myself. Keep going into myself and say, what's there that I'm not accepting? And there's still a lot of stuff there that I have not accepted. Brother Jamil is on here. He's always getting on me like, nope, you need to accept this about yourself. So I'm slow to accept that, because I know once I accept it, now I got to catch up. I got to catch up with who I am. And that's what you have to do as well. We got to catch up. So what is it about yourself that you're rejecting that is probably really one of your greatest attributes, or the door to your greatest attributes, that you've been rejecting because somebody told you you should reject it? Somebody told you you ain't gonna eat if you accept yourself. Somebody told you you're not gonna get a check if you accept yourself. Somebody told you, but there comes a point in time that after we make so many sacrifices, after we sacrifice ourselves so much, there comes a point in time where we got to figure out how to do for self so that we can be ourselves. Because, what'll happen is we'll go through life and our light will start to go out and go dim and we'll die with all those gifts deep down inside of us. Each and every one of us showed up on the planet to do something. So there is something very metaphysical when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says to us, accept your own and be yourself. When he says that, when he says to us, who is the original man? There's something very metaphysical in that. When we are given the measurements of the earth and told how many of us there are, there's something very metaphysical with that. And so I believe it's very important that we not isolate ourselves. See, because what this world teaches us to do is you get in your own little world, you go into your own little space, I go into my own little space. But we never get a chance to get together and create these types of groups where we start to pull out of one another what's hidden deep down inside of us. Some people don't even know what your talents are because you're so vanilla and so plain. When you're around other people, people don't even know you. They know what you look like, but they don't even know you. I find it so interesting, and we get this a lot, especially among Black people, because we're taught to pare down our talents. You could be sitting next to somebody and they say, oh, I study neuroscience. I've had people say to me, Sister Sajdah, I have no idea what you do. And I said, wow, I thought I was pretty articulate about what I do and who I am. I'm moving into this space where I used to compartmentalize who I am. I call it when I was schizophrenic. So I would go, okay, there's corporate Wendy, there's spiritual Wendy, there's gangster Wendy, there's family Wendy. I would have all these different things. And then once I started to begin to accept myself, and I asked Allah, I said, Allah, can I sustain myself? Will you allow me to sustain myself and become wealthy based on who you made me to be? And you know what I heard in my head? Well, you got to accept who you are. You have to accept your own and be yourself. And then that prayer will be answered. I've already given you that instruction. And so now I'm a point where I love myself enough to just love who I am. I can say, let's do Sajdah Saturday morning coffee talks and talk about life, love, and business. Let's do it cozy. Let's be in the home. I can decide how I want to vibrate today and how I want to look and what I want to wear because I love myself. So many of us say, well, I'm going to do for self. I'm going to sit at home. I'm not going to work nobody's job. But then our family looking at us like, you going to bring some money in here? You going to help us eat? What you going to do? But we can't do it because we're not accepting who we are. We're not accepting who we are. We're not saying, let me go deep in myself. Let me find that one thing that embarrasses me. What is that one thing that embarrasses me? See, because, the psychology that the colonizers and the slave masters embedded in us, we take whatever attribute we see in a person and we talk negative about them. I used to wear glasses, right? Really thick glasses. And people would talk about my glasses. People call me four eyes or buck eyes because I got big eyes. And they say buck eyes or whatever. But we talk about one another negatively. So we don't realize that's some kind of attribute. That's something special and unique about you. And so I tell you, take that unique thing. We always tease Brother Jamil about his potato chip head. Well, maybe Jamil needs to make potato chip head his logo because we tease him about it. And I know that probably sounds really crazy, but that's what you got to do because hidden behind that joke about you or that stigma about you is a gift that is waiting to bust out. It's been struggling to come to the surface. Struggling. But what we do is we just worship the struggle. We misunderstand struggle. We misunderstand struggle is ordained. We think we just supposed to constantly struggle. Struggle, I've learned, is like contrast. It's to mold us and shape us and pull up out of us what we need in order to align ourselves with our assignment. Struggle is not something, you don't stay in a space of struggle for the same thing over and over again. That's like a mother giving birth and the baby staying in the birth canal. At some point, you gotta give birth. When a plant is coming up out of the ground, it's struggling to open itself and come up out of the dirt. That's struggle. But at some point, it comes up out of the dirt. When the baby's in the birth canal, trying to bear down and push and come out, that's struggle. It's pain, but it don't stay there. If it stays there, somebody's gonna die. Either the baby or the mother. So if you stay in that space of struggle, at some point you're gonna die there. So you gotta wiggle your way out and come to birth so that you can struggle again and become reborn again and again and again. You have to continue to make yourself over so that you fall in love with yourself over and over and over again. You don't love yourself because you don't get through the struggle. You don't allow yourself to become birthed. Let yourself grow. Let yourself come up out of the ground. Let yourself blossom. And then you can fall in love with the beautiful thing that you gave birth to. And then you do it again and again. And you fall in love over and over and over and over again with yourself. With yourself. I always say to my clients, try to love yourself and see yourself the way God sees you. And when you try that, that's hard. Because we're so busy rejecting so much of ourselves, and we live in this world that tells us, nope, throw this away, check this box. Nope, we don't need this. It's almost like they're cleaning out dirty laundry. But God put certain things in you for a reason. You are who you are for a reason. And when you get on that kick, you ain't got time to judge. You ain't got time to hate on nobody. You ain't got time to say, oh, well, he don't wear this, or she don't wear that, or he don't do this, or he doesn't say that. You ain't got time for all that. You don't even have time to entertain people who are on that because you are so busy trying to focus your energy in the right direction and build up so that you can accept your own and be yourself. So these are one of the ways we talk about repelling envy and repelling jealousy. Much of that is born out of that. Learning to repel is accepting yourself and being yourself. Many times the road to envy and jealousy is when the material things or who that person is challenges your identity of yourself or your lack of identity. But it's still an identity challenge. It sends you into identity crisis. You're like, I thought I was the finest person. I thought I had the baddest boots. Hey, her boots better than mine. She gonna get more attention than me. So that's an identity crisis that person's presence throws you into. And then you become jealous. You either decide, I don't want other people to see her or him, or I'm going to destroy her or him, or I'm going to ignore them. Whatever you decide to do. But you're in an identity crisis because that person's presence challenges your identity. It either challenges what you're doing or what you're not doing, or is a reminder of what you should be doing. Either way, it's challenging who you are. And the way we not become challenged from an identity standpoint is to accept who we are. Accept our own and be ourselves. Accept who we are. Let's study. Let's go to work on ourselves. What is it about you that's really great? Sit down and take a list. Write down all the attributes about yourself. Start with the stuff you don't like, because we've been programmed to dislike so much about ourselves. Start with the stuff you don't like. Start there. And then start to see how you can turn those things into attributes that can be of service to your community. Also, listen, before we get out of here, let's see, we got a few minutes. I hope that makes sense to y'all, because we talk so much about haters. We talk so much about people who are jealous, the E and J and all of that. But how do we not become haters? Many of us who's talking about the haters are haters ourselves. Many of us who are talking about other people being envious and jealous are envious and jealous people ourselves. And it comes in all kind of different ways. Some of us love people just because we're envy and jealous. Some become fans. Some become haters. All of it is an identity crisis, is really what it is. Because if you and I knew and understand exactly who we are and whose we are, we really won't be worried about what somebody else got that looks beautiful, because we will see the majesty and the work of the Creator and Almighty God Allah right there. And right there we can say, like Brother Yusuf told me so many years ago, look for Allah in everything. So when you see somebody that's beautiful, when you see somebody that's articulate, when you see somebody with an attribute that makes you question your identity, I challenge you to flip it around and thank Allah for their attribute. I thank Allah for how beautiful she is. I thank Allah for how strong He is. I thank Allah for His muscles, whatever. But I challenge you to do that. I challenge you to start flipping that around, because many of us are low-key haters and we don't even know it. So when you feel something bubbling up, bless it. When you drive down a block and you see some beautiful homes or a beautiful car. I pulled up yesterday on a matte colored Rolls Royce. It was matte colored black. It was so beautiful. I almost missed the light because I had to sit there and say, man, I thank Allah for that beautiful car. And I bless whoever is in that car that got that, because I couldn't see because the windows was tinted. Beautiful vehicle. Beautiful car. And so I sat there and blessed that person. I sat there and thanked Allah for that magnificent engineer and car designer that put that beautiful thing together. And I started thinking about, as I was driving, where they went in their mind to make such a beautiful car like that. And then I started to bless and be grateful for the person who was driving it, so I could see it, it could motivate me, and I could even think about, who did they become to attract that to themselves? Anyway, New Year's Eve is coming up, y'all. We're going to have a goal setting and manifestation party. Click the link in the bio. Get your tickets. We're going to do it from 7 to about 9 or 10 p.m. Then you can get off and go do your New Year's Eve stuff. But I think it's important that we sit down and we go into this new year right. We're going to talk about gratitude. We're going to talk about goal setting. Bring your notebooks. We're going to sit down and really dive into this. We're going to talk about how to become powerful manifestors and what we have to do with our minds in order to manifest whatever it is that we want. No, Brother Jamil did not have white walls. Yeah, please attend the New Year's Eve manifestation class. I've been inspired with something that I want to share. And usually every year I do like a goal setting party or a gratitude party. And I'll do it in person. And we'll have a few people, a few special guests in person. But we're going to do this and broadcast it around the world so that we all can start focusing on what we need to do and how we need to change our mind and how we need to tweak our mind. I say it that way. in order to have the things that we want, that we're going to put down on these goals, on our list, on our notebooks with these listed goals. Normally what I used to do is people would come to my house and I would have notebooks that I would give away. Right here behind me, next to my framed picture of my book that my mom gave me, is a notebook that says Sajdah House. So 3 years ago, when I first acquired the house, I bought notebooks for everybody who attended my manifestation and goal setting party at my house. And that's what we wrote our goals out in. So we'll have small people here, but we're going to broadcast this year. So I'm really excited about it. Let me tell you something. When you do that, and you do that in a group, and you kind of share energy with people, you create this circle of influence, it makes a complete difference. And what we're going to do is we're going to start cutting off things in our lives that just don't contribute. And I'm going to show you how to do that, because some things we can't just cut off real hard. Some things we got to do it. I'm looking for my song because we're running out of time. Some things we got to do slowly. All right. I don't know if y'all been to Sajdah House, the IG page at Sajdah House. Please support the commemorative coin effort, because the house is looking beautiful. It is coming along so nicely. I posted a few pictures out of there. Yesterday I was there. It was so magnificent. It just hit me like an avalanche of emotions, and I had to go in the car and literally just cry. And I felt the full presence of Almighty God, Allah, there at the house. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Please give us your support. Go to the website, sajdahhouse.com. Brother Jamil put the code in, HEM4847. Please get the commemorative coins. We are determined to do this independently. It is coming along beautifully. I think I done ran myself out of time, and so we don't have time, I don't think, for a whole song. But I want you all to do a little quick Michael Jackson, because I've been on a Michael Jackson kick this week. All right. So with that, y'all, I'm going to get out of here because I don't want it to cut us off and count down the seconds. I love you all. Accept your own and be yourself. Attend the manifestation class, and please get your commemorative Elijah coin. Peace and blessings.